The paradigm, it continues. Broadcast, Jonathan, we just barely got a chance to introduce things, and you're going to wrap it up and make some wonderful sense out of the paradigm. For those who weren't watching us, what's a paradigm?
Yeah, a paradigm could be a model, a pattern, a template, a foreshadow in cases, and God uses it throughout the Bible. There are different kinds of paradigms, prophetic paradigms all the time. The paradigm itself, the book, and what this revelation is a master blueprint lying behind our times, the events. It reveals the events of our times, past, present, and we can all talk about future. It speaks about, gives the times when these things happen. It speaks about it reveals the people on the world stage, that they're all following an ancient prototype person, and that explains them, and also that gives the time that they'll be on the stage. It speaks about could it give us insight to even tell us who's going to win an election, possibly, where the polls are totally off? Could it have a warning? Are we in a mystery? Are we all replaying this thing right now, our entire lives? And that's the paradigm, is that master blueprint from the Bible from over 2,500 years ago. See, and we're not saying that the Bible is prophesying this. What we're saying is that God is in charge of everything. He's sovereign. Right. He weaves every event together, and he uses his word to speak to us, and he uses so what we're going to see is an amazing thing. It's not only is it speaking about the general times we're in, it gives dates, it gives the times. I'll just do a quick thing, just a very quick, so people get an idea. For instance, Bill Clinton will follow the paradigm of King Ahab, just to set the stage. Hillary Clinton will follow the paradigm of Queen Jezebel. Barack Obama will, well, we're going to get there, right? and it even gives the dates of 9/11 years before it happened. It gives exact dates of events of our lifetime. So we got up to the point, we covered the years of Ahab and Jezebel, and we covered the years of the Clinton years. So that's where we left off.
And when Jonathan talks about the paradigm, he's always running on the excited side, which is basically Jonathan Cahn. I want you to watch this this film that he had made, and when we come back, we're going to continue the story.
Could there exist a master blueprint from ancient times that is determining the events of modern times? Is it possible that an ancient mystery lies behind current events, including the rise and fall of leaders, governments, and even the presidents of the United States? Could a blueprint from the ancient Middle East actually foretell the events of our day so precisely it even reveals when these events must take place, down to the year and even the exact days? The master blueprint in the paradigm even revealed the date of 9/11, years before it took place. From Jonathan Cahn, best-selling author of The Harbinger, The Mystery of the Shemitah, and the Book of Mysteries, comes The Paradigm, the ancient blueprint that holds the mystery of our times. In his most explosive book to date, Jonathan Cahn opens up the master blueprint that is now unfolding before our eyes. How has the paradigm already affected your life, and how will it impact your future? Cahn takes you on a journey from Middle Eastern landscapes to Washington, D.C., from ancient palaces to the White House, from mysterious priests and priestesses to ruthless kings and queens, from gods and goddesses to prophets and holy men. What does the mystery reveal about what lies ahead? And what is the warning it contains? You will be stunned and amazed at the revelations contained in Cahn's most explosive book yet. One thing is certain: once the veil is removed, you will never see the world in the same way again. Find out more when you read Jonathan Cahn's The Paradigm, the ancient blueprint that holds the mystery of our times. Available wherever fine books are sold.
Wow. let's go ahead and continue this this wonderful model, this framework, this
Yeah.
paradigm that comes to us from Scripture.
Yeah, we ended up last time, we ended up with the end of the years of Ahab. And we took us to 9/11, it took us to the exact date and all that. Well, here's the question. What happens after that? What happened, what Ahab's reign ends, but what happens to Jezebel? Most people think, okay, Ahab is over and Jezebel's reign is over. Not what happened. What happens is Ahab's reign comes to an end. Jezebel's reign, she goes on the political stage. So what does that mean here for the paradigm? It means that Bill Clinton's time as president will end, but Hillary Clinton, according to the paradigm, will go on the political stage. And that's exactly what happens. It has never happened before in American history. And what happens is, with Jezebel, she goes on. She's not the queen anymore. She's the former queen. She's the former first lady. But she will dwell in the halls of power. She will influence the government. We know that by other things in the Bible. She will dwell in the capital city. So what happens with Hillary Clinton? She will dwell in the halls of power, not as first lady, former first lady, but influencing the government. She will dwell in the capital city. And she will actually continue on her views and about abortion and all that, along with the paradigm. But at one point, she'll seek to be president in 2008. But according to the paradigm, that's not going to happen, certainly not then. And so what happens is, in the paradigm, it goes to another person, a younger man, which is now opens up the next part, a next mystery of the paradigm. And this is in the chapter or the section called the heir. And this is now, we're going to see the mystery of Barack Obama. And how so? Barack Obama is going to follow the paradigm of the man called Joram. Joram is the heir to Ahab. He comes to the throne after, and he's going to follow in the footsteps of Ahab. By and large, he's following the policies of his father. What does that mean? Barack Obama will come to power, and he'll be the heir, the political heir of the Clintons. He'll follow in those policies. They had Hillary care, becomes Obamacare. The abortion goes on. Morality goes on. All these things go on. Hostility, in many ways, to the faith goes on. And so you've got all those things. But not only that, Joram, actually, the paradigm also gives the personalities. And I'll say it this way. Because Ahab was a very emotional, back and forth, wavering, quivering. And Bill Clinton was the same. But Joram he has a cooler temperament. He doesn't express things the same way. Neither does Barack Obama. But his policies, Joram's policies, are noted for their hostility to God and to his ways. And that's really the policies of Barack Obama were continually hostile to them.
Now let me stop you before
Sure.
we go on. And I want to explain to our viewers that Jonathan is talking about a story that you can read about in the Bible, in the book
Kings.
In Kings. You can actually read this
Yes.
this narrative
That's right.
as it unfolds step by
That's
step,
right.
and read about these characters that he's talking
right.
about. So continue.
Yeah. Everything we're saying is there, yes. And so now what happens is, now Joram, when he comes to the power, he doesn't come alone. He comes to the palace he's in the palace with the former first lady. He's with Jezebel. She's not the queen, she's the former first lady. And so Barack Obama, for the first time in American history, comes to power with a former first lady in his cabinet. So same thing there. Now, one person a mystery we haven't spoken about, is the paradigm not only speaks about these American leaders, it speaks about others, or another here. And this one is called in the book, and in the second called the Nemesis. He becomes an enemy of the nation. Now he rises up, this enemy rises up, it becomes an arch enemy of the nation in the reign of Ahab. That's where he begins. Becomes a threat. He threatens the nation. He's gonna invade it, and he ultimately will invade it and bring destruction. Well, he comes from the east. He speaks a Semitic tongue. He actually, this means in the days of Clinton, this is the antitype, it means someone's going to rise up and become the arch enemy of America. Well, it happens. His name is Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden is going to follow the prototype or the paradigm of the ancient enemy of Israel, who comes from the east, who speaks Semitic language, just as he does. Arabic, by the way, is Semitic tongue from the east. He will attack the nation from the east and the eastern city, and he will threaten destruction. And even the name of the ancient nemesis, in Hebrew it's Ben, but in Arabic it's Bin. And so the modern one is also called Bin, same thing, Bin Laden. And at one point in the story, and you can read it in Kings, God delivers this ancient enemy into the hands of Ahab. But Ahab, instead of arresting him, or instead of imprisoning him or eliminating him, lets him go free, which brings destruction on the land. And God rebukes Ahab and says, this is now going to bring calamity. Well, could it be that Clinton ever had the chance to eliminate bin Laden, but didn't? Well, the answer is the 9/11 Commission found that absolutely Bill Clinton had the chance to eliminate bin Laden and let him go, which brought 9/11. And it happened 9 times. 9 times.
Wow.
But now after 9/11 happens, and we saw the paradigm points to the date of 9/11 before it happened, but after it happened, what happened? There was the greatest manhunt in world history, and it went dead. They couldn't find him for years, Osama bin Laden. But the paradigm reveals what was going to happen. And what happens in the ancient case is the ancient enemy is confined to his quarters. He can't move. So he uses a courier to send messages. Well, that's exactly what happened with bin Laden. After years of not finding bin Laden, they located his courier. And they followed his courier, who led him to that compound in Pakistan. Now, so his death would come through that courier. Well, in the ancient paradigm, the death of the Nemesis comes through his courier. Same thing. And it describes how it would happen. The ancient enemy is lying in his bed when the assassination begins. So Osama bin Laden, same thing, in his bed, it begins. The assassin will come into his bedroom, execute him in his bedroom. Ancient. Bin Laden, the assassin will come into his bedroom and execute him there. And when it happens, when does that assassination happen? It happens in the paradigm under the reign of King Joram. Joram is the mystery behind Obama. That's when it will happen. And when it happens, Joram will be in the palace with Jezebel. So you have Obama in the White House with Clinton while this happens. But not only that, the paradigm actually gives the year when it will happen, because it says that the Nemesis, when he brings destruction on the land, he will have 10 years left to live, and then he will be assassinated. That was 2001 in the case of bin Laden. Add 10 years of the paradigm, takes you to 2011. That is the year the Nemesis is assassinated.
So, well, now you've got my interest piqued. As we continue on, and we've got just a few minutes left, there's another character who will soon be introduced in the Book of Kings.
Yes.
And you call him the warrior.
Yes. Let me put a bookend on it. And here's the thing. The years of Joram are going to come to an end. It's going to lead to this next character. How long was Obama on the national stage? When did he come? It was that speech. Nobody knew about him before that speech in the Democratic Convention, if you remember. Overnight, catapulted.
Yeah.
When was it? It was 2004. When was his last year as presidency? 2016. How many years of Obama on the national stage? 12 years. 12 years. It's exact. Open up the Bible to his prototype, Joram. And it reads in 2 Kings 3, and Joram reigned in Samaria for a period of 12 years. Again, the exact match. Now that we're going to get to that character.
Leave it to Jonathan Cahn to come up with this connection.
But Gary, all those things that I'm saying, I didn't know. I was seeing all the rest, and only that came at the end. I said, and so here's where we are. The nation's Israel's at a juncture. If the house of Ahab continues, it's going to be lost. It's going to stamp out religious freedom. It's going to be an apostasy, sealed forever. But a surprise happens. America was at a juncture at this last election. If the other party won, it's not about politics, but the other party won, it would have sealed the Supreme Court, sealed religious freedom, sealed abortion, all that. Well, the surprise comes. What's the surprise? The surprise in the paradigm is the man called Jehu. Jehu is going to be the mystery of Donald Trump. And everybody says, what's the mystery of Donald Trump? This is the mystery. Donald Trump is going to follow the paradigm of Jehu without even realizing it. Who is Jehu? He's not a politician. Neither was Donald Trump. He's a warrior. He's a fighter. Donald Trump is a fighter. He fights with everybody. And then you have Jehu was not a gentleman. He's a rough man. So was Donald Trump. He was wild. He was impulsive. He was unpredictable. So was Donald Trump. And yet he wasn't following God either. But God anoints him to serve him. So in the same way, people say, well, how can God use someone like Donald Trump who hasn't followed? God can use anybody. And so what happens is Jehu is anointed and so he gets into a chariot and begins a race to the throne. Well, Donald Trump begins a race to the White House, and Jehu is going to shake up the status quo. He's going to shake up everything. And when he goes, happens so quick, as he's heading, the guy, there's a watchman, sees him coming in the chariot, and he says, I'm not sure who this is, but the driving is like that of Jehu, for he driveth furiously. How did Donald Trump, how is that race? You want to describe that race? Furious. The word in Hebrew, shageh, means he drives crazy. It's a crazy race. And even the word, some of your Bibles read, he drives like a madman. And so Donald, you want to describe Donald Trump? This is it. Like, God has a sense of humor. And yet, even though it's a crazy race, it makes no sense. Jehu will get to the throne, and so will Donald Trump, and much is going to happen there. I don't know if you have to take a break.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm still,
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
with you. What I was doing was just thinking, should I ask a question or should I let him go on? No, I don't want to break the momentum.
Let's go. Okay, so the momentum is he's heading to the throne. Now, when he gets there, when Jehu gets to Jezreel, he's getting to the throne. It's revealed that Jehu actually was on the wrong side of the culture war. He was a friend of Ahab. He was fighting for Ahab, and so he was on the wrong side. He was actually for Baal, which means child sacrifice. Donald Trump was on the wrong side of the culture war. He was an acquaintance of the Clintons. He was for abortion. Yet Jehu changed and became, quote, pro-life. He against Baal. So did Donald Trump. God can use anybody. When he gets there, it becomes a showdown between Jehu and Jezebel, or a showdown between the warrior and the former first lady, or a showdown between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is the race we had. And so you got this wild guy, Jehu, but then you have this former first lady who's now a grandmother in the paradigm and in life, and they come head to head. Now remember, Gary, all the polls were saying, it's finished. The Democrats are going to wipe it out. The Republicans are finished. Donald Trump is finished. They all said that, but the paradigm did not say that. The paradigm said the opposite. When the warrior and the former first lady come head to head, the warrior will emerge triumphant and will defeat the former first lady. It's exactly what happened. And there's so much to this, but it's exactly what happened. And it was a downfall. So much, and I'm going to just throw in one thing. It's just an extra. It's an extra.
Go ahead.
An extra.
Go ahead.
And that is because when I first wrote the manuscript, I didn't have this. This happened after. It's an eerie thing. On the day that Hillary Clinton was nominated at the Democratic Convention, or when she received the nomination, there was a speech made that turned out to be prophetic. It was hailing her, but strange because the guy who's doing the speech keeps saying, the theme of the speech is, they threw her down, but she wouldn't stay thrown. They threw her down as senator. They threw her down, and they threw it. It keeps going. They threw her down, threw it. That's a weird thing to say. They threw her down.
It is.
Take those words, type of the speech of about Hillary Clinton, type into your computer, threw her down, and of all the words in the universe, it will lead you to the Bible. It will lead you to Kings. It'll lead you to 2 Kings. It'll lead you to 2 Kings at the moment that Jezebel and Jehu come head to head, and it's the downfall of the former first lady. And here is the very thing that was proclaimed on that day leads you to the verse about Jehu and Jezebel. I mean,
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, there's more.
I know there's more. We're talking about Jonathan's book, The Paradigm, and I'll give him a chance to take a breath because a paradigm is a model. Now, the model and I'm going to ask you a question here in just a second. A model is something that is clearly discernible.
Yes.
And it clearly happened in case of the Bible.
Yes.
It happens because of what God does to bring about His will. And so this thing has lain dormant for millennia. And along comes Jonathan Cahn and says, something looks like it fits here. The Lord seems to have led you into a perception of understanding this pattern in a very special way, because the things you're mentioning cannot be coincidental. I mean, there are just too many of them, right?
Too many of them, exactly.
So
exactly.
How do you feel when these things begin to be?
I feel blown away, Gary. I'm blown away. People, when they're reading this, the reaction I've been getting is like, wow, it blew me away. I'm the first one to be blown away. And I told you that much of what is here, I mean, all these things about the exact conversion, that came at the end. I didn't even see it till the end. And I believe the Lord wants to speak, and He can use this in anything. And I'll give you an example of one of those right now. We just spoke about where we are. How long was Hillary Clinton on the national stage? Well, she was on the stage 22 years with her husband. That's 1979, First Lady of Arkansas to First Lady of America until 2001. With her husband, 22 years, clear period. Then how long after that was she on the national stage? Well, she was there for 14 years, Senator and Secretary of State, 12 years first. Then she retired for 2 years, came back for 2 years to run for president. You got 14 years. So what about Jezebel? Jezebel was on the national stage with her husband for a period of 22 years. How long on her own after that? 14 years. 14 years again. Now, what happens after Jehu wins this victory? He's got to he's got to go to the capital city to take the throne.
Yes.
What happens with Donald Trump? He now has to focus on Washington. What was Jehu's agenda for the capital city? It was to drain the swamp. and that's exactly, read it. It's exactly what he does. He drains the swamp. And what was Donald Trump? It was to drain the swamp when I get there. On his way, when Jehu is going on his way to the capital city, he meets a man called Jehonadab. Now, he's a mystery man. In the book, in the section, it's called the Holy Man. Jehonadab, every commentary will tell you, represents the religious conservatives of the land. What happens is Jehu will have a meeting with him, will say, I'm with you, are you with me? They will say, yes, I'm with you. They will get into the chariot now. He'll form an alliance, and the two of them will actually ride in the chariot together, the kind of wild warrior man and the holy man. And what happened with this election? What did Donald Trump do? He met with religious conservatives, said, I'm with you, are you with me? They said yes, formed an alliance. Without that, he wouldn't be president. They ride together. Actually, Jehu is going to, Donald Trump is going to have an alliance with a particular man, Mike Pence, who's also a religious conservative. They will ride together to the White House. And once they get to the capital city, things are going to happen. And what happens is, one is that when he gets there, when Jehu gets to the capital, he will destroy the temple of Baal, and the temple of Baal is linked to, is built for child sacrifice. So he dismembers it, he ends the cult of Baal. Well, when he cuts off the state support. Well, what did Trump say he was going to do? He's going to seek to defund abortion, the killing of children, the offering up of children. And the first thing he did, his first executive order that he did, is that it was to undo what Obama and Clinton had done, the Mexico City policy, the policies of expanding abortion around the world. The first thing he did. But it goes more than that, because what the paradigm says is when the warrior rises, the temple of Baal will fall. Now, the thing is, there actually exists a temple of Baal, has existed for 2,000 years in the Middle East. Stood, 2,000 years. But when Donald Trump, he began his rise the summer of 2015. He announced his candidacy. Well, in the same summer, after 2,000 years, when he announced his candidacy, that same summer, the ancient temple of Baal stood for 2,000 years, came crashing down to the earth. When the warrior rises, the temple of Baal falls. Who could put that together?
Wow, and I remember that.
Yeah,
when
that's right.
The famous gate of Baal was destroyed.
That's right.
In the Middle East.
That's right.
But I didn't put it together the way
No,
you're
we
putting
wouldn't
it together.
have.
and speaking of putting it together, it's called The Paradigm. This book is put together in a way that makes all of these details crystal clear. The paradigm is blocked out so that you can perceive it, check it out, look at it, and check it against Scripture and draw your own conclusions. It's a very exciting concept from Jonathan Cahn. And by the way, we're putting together a package of information for you to go with the paradigm. We're calling it the Paradigm Package. Go to prophecywatchers.com, the online bookstore, scroll down to Jonathan Cahn, the Paradigm Package. You'll find the Paradigm book, and you're going to find these 2 DVD sets consisting of 8 DVDs, and Jonathan waxes eloquent on these DVDs. He has the opportunity to really flesh the things out and make them understandable. Those 2 DVD sets will be included in this package. Also, Jonathan's Book of Mysteries. It's a devotional, but it talks about the mysteries of Scripture in a way that will really, really inspire you, I think. And to complete this package, we are going to include a unique offering. This is Jonathan Cahn delivering his address at our recent Norman Prophecy Forum. And we're going to absolutely include this in the package along with something that we thought you would enjoy. This is Tim LaHaye's last prophecy message delivered at 412 Church in San Jacinto, California. And this was the last message he gave before he passed on, went home to be with the Lord. It was a wonderful prophecy message. For your gift of $100, free shipping in the United States, you can have all of the items in the Paradigm package. Just look it up on the website and click to order, and I think that you'll be amazed at what Jonathan Cahn has come up with. We still have just a few minutes left here to put a cap on this story.
Yes.
And I know that people are out there going, whoa, this is a lot of information.
Yeah, and we have only touched the surface of what's in the book. And by the way, with Paradigm Uncensored, that has things that I could not even put in the book. They are nowhere else. Warning, it's uncensored. There's nowhere else about what's happening. But I'll tell you, at the end of the book and of these, in the albums, there's a section is on the harbingers of things to come. What is the future? What does the paradigm tell us about the future? We're not being dogmatic to put God in a box, but what does it give us clues about where we are and where we're going, and what are we to do in? So I'll just say this, a few things, because we don't have time, but one is it intersects with the harbinger. It's going to intersect with the mystery of the harbingers, which are the warnings of judgment. I will just say this, happens in the same place, but there's a warning in there as well. But the most important thing I can say right now, rather than get into the possibilities of the future, and there are many things there, but one is that the importance of Jehu wasn't about Jehu, and it's not about Donald Trump. It's that God used Jehu to stop what would have closed the doors and open a window of time, or a reprieve, a window of time. Where we are right now, the election, what happened with Donald Trump is it stopped what would have been, would have shut things out. We have a window of time now, and that window of time is crucial. It's not about politics. That's not the answer. It's revival. If there's not revival, America will head down to apostasy and judgment. But revival is the answer. We need to pray for revival. We need to work for revival. We need to start living in revival, because his word is still good. If my people are called by my name, will humble themselves. So now is the time. And the other thing is that the paradigm at the very end there's a paradigm in the paradigm that is for God's people. It gives the key of how are we to live in the days of the paradigm. And it's called the Elijah paradigm. And we don't have time to get into detail except to say that Elijah is the key here. And there are many keys here. But one is we are not to be timid. Elijah wasn't timid. He wasn't status quo. He wasn't politically correct. He was radical, revolutionary, on fire. He was the candle in the night.
And when Elijah shows up, he comes out of nowhere.
And Elijah.
Poof.
And Elijah. And he was the answer. And we are called, we sing, these are the days of Elijah. Well, listen, it's time that we become the Elijahs of the day. God will anoint the one who will be that shining light. Go all out. Whatever's in your life, if it's compromised, get it out. This could be the greatest time for God's people, but go all out, all, and God will lift you up. This will be the greatest days for you, and you will find your paradigm, because God has a paradigm for your life. You'll find it by going all out for God.
In a half a minute, your contention is that we are living in, shall we say, prophetically interesting times.
At the very least, we are living in prophetic times. People are praying, I wish I could live in Bible times. Congratulations, you're living in Bible times.
Something to think about. Jonathan, thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you, Gary. It's always an honor.
And you're always a blessing.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, we're watching. You keep watching too. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.